Right now we're going to welcome in John O'Kane from the Press of Atlantic City, wrestling writer. And he's no longer a veteran wrestling writer. He's now an award-winning high school wrestling writer. Good morning, John.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm aging day to day here. I know. It's funny.
Apparently you're getting better with age, buddy.
Yeah, you're one of the first guys I thought of, man, because I was thinking, man, 1 week I'm getting called a veteran, now I'm winning, like, Lifetime Achievement Awards and stuff like that. Like, I must be getting older than I thought.
I think
award-winning veteran reporter? I thought you were that.
I'd like to think 97.3 ESPN had a little bit to do with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, congrats, man. Tell us about that award.
Thank you kindly. I'll tell you, I joke around, but it really was an honor. They actually called me, kind of a wild story, but they actually called me about 2 weeks after last year's state tournament, and it was right after my grandmother had passed, and it was one of those kind of things that kind of gave me the chills and really kind of made me think Mom was kind of looking over me kind of thing. Plus, we're down here in the, southernmost South Jersey kind of thing, and even though the award is named after John Vogening, from here at the Courier Post, a lot of North Jersey guys get a lot of the love kind of thing. So I really kind of thought it was amazing that they thought of me, and that my stuff was out there enough to kind of be thought of in that way. It really was a cool moment, and really proud. And one of those things, man. Like I said, I thought I'd have to be doing it a lot longer to get thought of for that kind of thing, especially down here in South Jersey. But it was much appreciated by everybody that thought of me.
So, what are you going to wear that new coat to?
Yeah, man. That was
you gotta wait for a wedding or something coming up, right?
Yeah, man. When they tell you this, and of course, me being the nerd I am, I kind of look up some of the former guys that have won it, and everybody's in a nice shirt and tie and jacket and everything like that. And people that know me, that's not really my shtick, is getting too overly dressed up here. So went out and bought a coat because, like I mentioned on Facebook that I've gone up a few weight classes since the last time I had to wear a coat. And, so went out and bought a coat, had tickets arranged for my parents who live up the road there, and my wife and kids, and going to come out, get a nice couple photo opportunities kind of thing. So was a little bit surprised. I got off the elevator on the third floor to go up there to Media Row, and I hear, John Vogening Award winner John O'Kane, and I was like, my heart literally dropped out of my chest for a second. They're calling me down to the center mat. So I kind of booked it down the stairwells as fast as you can book it at 300 pounds, and got down there on the mat, and actually I heard somebody say you're supposed to be here at 5:45, and in my head, all I could think of was I was supposed to be there on Saturday. They've always done that award on the final day, and of course, I'm joking around. Obviously, I hope anybody that's listening knows I'm joking around, but it's always been the award presentation's always been with the Parade of Champions on the final day, which has always been Sunday, but with them moving it up this year, I assumed it was Saturday. Apparently they had kind of made some changes, and nobody notified me. And here I am. I went right from school yesterday, teaching, and I went right from school, and, that kind of thing ended up out there. And it was, it's a funny story I'll tell my kids for years to come.
So can we restage that today just to get a photo op with the family?
Well, that's what my wife says. So randomly, the real quick shout-out. You guys know me. I'm terrible with shout-outs, but my daughter, Callie O'Kane, she's on her way to play in her basketball. She made it to the championship today, so I got to run and get that, here in a little bit. We're going to watch her hopefully get her first title here so she can brag and make fun of her brother for years to come. But it's funny. My wife, that's what my wife, love her to death. One of the things she said, I can't even win an award the right way kind of thing. So, she's telling me to snag a picture. Now, I don't give photographers a whole lot to work with. As you guys know, I've got a face made for radio. So, I'm not exactly going to be posting on any billboard soon, but, it is funny. With me, I kind of prefer it that way. At least I'll have a nice story to tell about it. But I had all these big plans. They were going to snap a quick photo and, maybe get that framed up and put it next to the plaque and everything like that. Instead, I got I annoyed the tournament director, and I'm probably sweating in any pictures that anybody got of me. So it'll be a funny story for years to come.
So you didn't get the Bryce Harper glam shot?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I missed that on that. Nor did I get the $330 million, unfortunately. Just shy of that. Just a little bit short of that.
We're talking with John O'Kane, covers high school wrestling for the Press of Atlantic City. So, John, give us kind of a rundown of what's gone on so far. We're looking at Championship Saturday here. Used to be Championship Sunday, but now it's Championship Saturday. Give us your thoughts on just the tournament in general. There was a couple upsets along the way, but for the most part, we're looking at some of the blue bloods there in the final round.
Yeah, not too many surprises. Maybe some of the least surprises, many ones along the way kind of thing, but, a bunch of top seeds. I didn't look too specifically outside of the area, but, I think, I want to say off the top of my head, 11 or 12 of the number one seeds made it, if not more. It's kind of chalk at the top kind of thing, not too many surprises. I know the heavyweight from Voorhees, Fernandez, he pinned his way through to the finals. Most of the Burton Catholic guys are in. I know Bennett from Delsey, he was one of the top seeds I remember off the top of my head that didn't make it, returning state finalist. He was the one Connor Krause from St. Augustine had beaten in the Region 8 finals. But, yeah, mostly chalk in terms of on the state level kind of thing. Not too many surprises. I don't think people realize how tough this tournament is. A lot of states break it down to multiple different, even Pennsylvania, 4 different kind of state brackets around the states. And Virginia, I know 4 different state titles and a prep bracket. New Jersey is one of the handful of states that breaks it down to one state champion in every weight class. So for these guys to get where they are is just out of this world. And, plus New Jersey is one of the 3, 4, 5 top wrestling states in general in terms of talent. If you look at the NCAA tournament in a couple weeks, you're going to see all kinds of Jersey guys all over the place. So this is a brutal tournament. In terms of local guys, I hate to be, negative and, this time of week, everybody's doing great kind of thing, but we've got one South Jersey, well, from our coverage area, at least Press Atlantic City's coverage area. We've got Nick O'Connell in the state finals at 152. He's looking to become the first state champion from the coverage area since 2005 when Pat Darcy from Holy Spirit won it. And then other than that, St. Augustine's Mike Meseta is going to be a place winner. He's wrestling this morning in the consolation finals, but that's it. 2 state place winners. I'd have to look again. I think that's the least we've had in a good number of years. We haven't had a state champion since 2015, but we usually have at least 3, 4, 5. I remember a couple of years we had 7 and 8 state place winners, meaning, top 8 of their respective weight classes. Yep. So to only have 2 in the top 8 is, not necessarily a great showing. Definitely some surprises. Going into the weekend, I thought, I did say that I thought O'Connell would get to the finals. He's just been wrestling out of his mind lately. He's just been on top of the world, and he's got that confidence to go with the talent. He's big for his weight class. He's got the confidence, the ability. He's got everything going for him. So, I like his chances today. But I was surprised that a handful of other guys didn't go to the bracket. I thought coming in we would have 4 or 5 state place winners with 1 state finalist kind of thing. So definitely some surprises in terms of locally.
John, one of those surprises that I saw was Pensgrove's Tyreek Brown. He's been rolling, and he even rolled in the first 2 rounds of the tournament as well. Then all of a sudden he gets pinned in the quarterfinals, and he drops the consolation bracket, then gets pinned again. I mean, what happened with Tyreek Brown? All of a sudden he was in the quarterfinals. He was 1 win away from placing, and all of a sudden he gets pinned twice in a row.
I tell you, that happens all the time. I'm always amazed with that. People don't realize the mentality of wrestling, I don't think. And it's hard to realize, it's hard to kind of think. People see some of these guys down at Boardwalk Hall every year, and there's that metal grate underneath the Boardwalk Hall that's, famous. You see guys run off the mat, and you hear that big thud when they go and punch that gate. That gate is undefeated, by the way, over the years. Never lost a match. It's broken about 24 different hands. But these guys get so fired up, and when you're wrestling at this high level, the thought of losing doesn't creep into your mind. You expect to win. You could be wrestling, 4-time world champion. You go out there and expect to win because at this level you didn't get there by, maybe I'll lose, hopefully I'll do my best kind of thing. There's no 50-50. Like, you're all in at this level. So these guys are super passionate, super fired up. The thought of losing doesn't creep into your mind until they're raising the other guy's hand. You know what I mean? Or until you're on your back counting ceiling tiles. Like, that thought doesn't creep into your mind kind of thing. So I can't tell you how many times over the years I've seen a guy that really goes into this thinking he was a state champion. He gets knocked down. All of a sudden, that idea of trying to go into the consolation bracket and wrestle for third, it's just hard for some of these guys to get back up and do it. And some guys on the other side of that, I've seen some guys lose, and they come right back and wrestle better than ever. It almost kind of, I don't want to say it's a monkey off their back, but, they always kind of ease up a little bit and realize, all right, it is what it is, let's move on. But some guys that are really thinking they're state champions, that, they lose that match, and there's just, they come out and they just don't have it. They've lost their edge. They don't have that, that spark kind of thing. We see it every year. There's guys that unfortunately they lose, they drop down, and they just have a tough time wrestling back to get up to third.
John, for somebody who's never been to the state finals, it's amazing the level between even quarterfinals and finals, because, you look at a guy like Meseta, awesome year, completely dominated through districts and regions, barely even broke a sweat in regions to win that title, rolling through the first couple of rounds of states, runs into Foca, and, it was no contest. Foca pinned him in like 40 seconds. It just shows you what the level is between really good and elite. I mean, it's so hard to get to that level.
Yeah, and it's funny. We talked about that with college guys too. You see these top-level guys, the Bo Nichols, the Jason Nolfs of the world, and you realize, some of these guys, Bo Nickel, what he did to Colin Moore last week, number 1 and number 2, and Nickel just tortured him and decked him. That level between that, like you said, that elite guy and that world killer, I mean, it's just next level. You're right. I mean, Meseta's out of this world. He's only a sophomore, so he's going to be back, but, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a state title here in the next couple of years. He's going to be on the podium today as a sophomore at 182. That's not easy to do. That's a junior and senior dominated weight class. But you're right. As good as he is, he goes up to Toms River North for the state team title a couple weeks ago. And, I'm thinking, let's see, a successful match would be Meseta kind of hanging with it, maybe keeping it to a decision. And Folk attacked him that day. So, that match was never really in doubt. You're thinking, man, Meseta's out of this world, one of the top guys in South Jersey. And you see a guy like that, and they're just, some of these guys are on a different level. Same thing, you look at, Robert Howard from Bergen Catholic. He's going to wrestle at Penn State next year. He's one of the top 3 or 4 guys in the country. He's won world titles in freestyle. He's an absolute, if you watch him, he's one of my favorite guys to watch because he's just an absolute bulldog on the mat. He's always going forward. He's always attacking. He's great in every position. He's got a motor that just doesn't stop. Like, the level, now he's going to have a tough state final today, by the way, as I say this. Him and Alvarez are, they've battled a few times over the years, but the level between those guys and the 3rd, 4th, 5th best guys in the state, it's just out of this world. When Suriano was doing it a few years ago, who's up at Rutgers now, when Anthony Ashnault, when Campolitano was in high school, Scott Winston, like the level between some of those premier stud guys, going back to Pat Lynch from Ocean City, going back to, Ryan Goodman from Epsigami, some of these guys, the level between that elite guy, that top-notch Division I guy, could be college All-American, and the 2nd, 3rd, 4th guys, you're right. It's a huge gap, and this is the time of year when you notice it.
John, you mentioned Rutgers, and I'll be a little selfish here, but you look at 160 of Robert Kennard and Connor O'Neill. That's one of my favorite finals to watch today because, I mean, those 2 guys are going to be teammates at Rutgers in a couple of years. Kennard's a senior, O'Neill's a junior, but how about them meeting each other in the finals? I know Kennard has been absolutely dominant this year. He's undefeated, number 1 seed, but O'Neill is 6th seed. He kind of knocked off a few guys along the way, and he's been pretty much dominant in this tournament too.
You're right. I like Rutgers' chances of winning in that final there. Yeah, and Rutgers is doing a fantastic job, by the way. Those guys, what Anthony Ashnault and what Nick Suriano and those guys are doing up there under Scott Goodale, those guys are doing fantastic. They're going to the point where they're expecting All-Americans. They're expecting to compete for national titles. Their duels, they're expecting to be top 10, 15 in the country. That's where they're at in the most brutal wrestling conference in the world. It's still kind of always going to be, though. There's always going to be that thought, like, man, if only these guys could keep all of these elite guys. We talked about Foca from Bergen Catholic. We talked about, Jacob Cardenas from Bergen Catholic, the other big guy. Those guys are both going to Cornell. Like, only if Rutgers could keep all of those, and that's not going to happen. That's not realistic. In any sport, you're not going to keep all the guys home. But, if they could keep Robert Howard away from Penn State, Howard's going to Penn State. Imagine if you could keep him at Rutgers to potentially go pair alongside with Suriano in the lightweights next year. And you get, Cardenas and Foca up top and some of these other high-level guys. But you're right. There are a handful of guys in this tournament this year that are going to be wrestling for Rutgers next year, and that's fantastic. Like I said, New Jersey, the toughness of New Jersey wrestlers along with the skill set, the fact that these guys do wrestle down to 1 state champion, it kind of lets you know where everybody is. It's just, it's one of the best tournaments. It really is my favorite weekend of the year in terms of high school sports.
Yeah, just a quick add-on to that. I mean, at least just looking at the state tournament, you look at these guys who are going to be wrestling at the next level, and I think Rutgers has to be thankful they do have a number 1 kid in the country, and Eric Gona at 138 coming to Piscataway next year. He was rolling through the bracket. I guess aside from his one match where I think it was the quarterfinals where he won 6-4, but other than that, he's been flat out dominant this year too.
Yeah, you're right. That's another guy I failed to mention him, but JoJo's been, he's been elite for a lot of years. He's another fun guy to watch too. By the way, he's a guy that really lets it fly, and he rarely, like you said, he won that 6-4 match or won by a couple points of decision, but he's a guy that's not afraid to open it up and score, which is going to translate well to the college level kind of thing. He's definitely a fun guy to watch. Rutgers is definitely getting a good one with him.
John, I think that kid Cardenas snacks on galvanized nails. That kid is a monster.
They really are, man. Some of these guys, I'm always amazed. Kennard's kind of that way too. Some of these guys are just so big. I know I go back to, Frank Molinaro and some of these guys. It's just amazing how big these guys can get. I think of myself in high school, and I was a studly 164 pounds and 22% body fat. And it's amazing how big and strong these guys get, and as athletic as they are, and as big and strong as they are, you see these guys wrestling, and the flexibility and the positions that these guys can tort into. Like, my back hurts just thinking about some of the stuff that these guys are doing. I joke around I'm going to get beat up for this for sure, but Luke Lano, was talking to him yesterday. He was in the corner for Nick O'Connell from Southern Regional. He's coached O'Connell since they were in the Stafford rec program. Luke Lano was the coach. O'Connell was wrestling with, John Stout's son and Nick Pepe. All three of those guys, by the way. Think about those guys from Southern Regional. I was thinking about that last night. O'Connell's going to Cornell, Stout's going to Penn, and Pepe's going to Stevens Tech. Talk about some smart dudes in the room. My goodness. Hopefully those guys will give me a job in a few years when they finish up schooling. But I was looking at Lano in the corner, man. I made the comment, I'm going to get beat up for this if he sees me. I'm going to have to avoid him today. But like Luke Lano looks like he ate Frank Molinaro. He is an absolute animal, man. He's got to be 240 pounds of pure muscle. Like, he looks like he could just jump out there and beat anybody on the mat right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with that dude.
Dude, even so, some of these coaches, it's amazing. I don't want to say, I don't want to get carried away here, but some of these coaches, it's crazy. Like, these guys just lift like 6 hours a day. Like, it's unbelievable.
It's a lifestyle, man. Wrestling lifestyle.
My goodness. I guess maybe I've got too many kids and jobs, but it's amazing how big some of these guys are. These guys, but they really are. I joke around. I coach wrestling, and we tell our guys, this is one of the few sports, like, everybody else is athletic, and basketball guys, baseball guys, soccer guys, everybody else is athletic, but wrestling, to be this elite, you really have to live it. You're not just a wrestler when you're wrestling. You have to eat well. You have to sleep well. You have to recover well. You have to, what you're putting in your body. Like you said, the level of perfection. For Nick O'Connell, he was 152 pounds last year as a junior. He was 145 pounds his sophomore year. He was 160 to start the year. For him to come down to 152 this year, so sure, he's the same weight class as last year, but he's a year older, a year bigger, a year stronger, theoretically a year smarter in terms of cutting weight and, getting down there healthy and not dehydrating himself and, losing 10 pounds in the night and kind of slowly, gradually coming down. That just makes him, like, he talks about how big he is at that weight class, and that might not make sense to people that's the same weight class. They have to weigh the same thing, but he's coming down from a higher weight and doing it more intelligently. His fitness, his conditioning, his dietary, this is the sport where it really, truly encompasses all other things. Like, you're a wrestler 24 hours a day, which is one of the cool things about it, in my opinion.
Great stuff, John. We appreciate the time, as always, last couple of weeks, and great catching up with you and giving us some insight on the high school wrestling scene. And congratulations again on your Lifetime Achievement Award. Well earned. So keep that jacket handy in case you have a wedding or something to attend. Yeah,
exactly. I can't wait to hear what adjectives I get next year, man. The elder statesman, John O'Kane. No, I appreciate you guys having me, man. Always, I get a lot of good feedback. I don't know if you guys hear it too, but I get a lot of good feedback from people, and a lot of people are listening. And wrestling fans are a passionate group, and I appreciate you guys having me all year. As always.
It's their Christmas this weekend, so we got to give it up to them.
Man. It's glorious. I love it.
I was having people yelling in my ear all day yesterday as I was trying to take photos. So they get worked up over it.
I love driving down Pacific Avenue and seeing all the varsity wrestling jackets in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That is cool. Great stuff, John. We appreciate it, man. Got to let you go, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Enjoy the state finals.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks for having me as always, man. Have a great one.